On the night of July 1, 2002, the skies over southern Germany were quiet, almost serene. High above the darkened landscape, two aircraft sliced through the night. One was a Tupolev Tu-154 carrying dozens of schoolchildren from Russia bound for a holiday in Spain. The other, a massive DHL cargo Boeing 757, was on a routine flight, hauling freight across Europe. At that moment, to the passengers, the flight was uneventful. The children laughed, flight attendants moved through the aisles, and the pilot settled into the calm rhythm of the cruise phase. But unseen to them all, a chain of small errors, a moment of human confusion, and a single overstretched air traffic controller would soon align into tragedy. At Zurich Area Control Center, the airspace was unusually understaffed. Only one controller was responsible for a large swath of sky. His colleague had stepped away, leaving him alone to manage multiple aircraft. Maintenance had also taken out a critical phone line, making it harder for him to reach other sectors. For most of the night, he managed. But around 11:30 p.m., two blips began to converge on his radar screen. The DHL freighter and the Russian passenger jet were on intersecting paths, cruising at nearly the same altitude. In a perfect world, the automated collision avoidance systems on board both aircraft, known as TCAS, would give clear, unambiguous instructions. And indeed, when the moment came, the system on the Russian jet advised the crew to climb, while the system on the DHL freighter instructed them to descend. Two precise, opposite instructions that would have kept the aircraft apart. But the lone controller, seeing the danger too late, issued his own command. To the Russian crew, he ordered, "Descend immediately." Faced with conflicting guidance, the Russian pilots followed the human voice. They descended at the very same moment the DHL pilots were obeying their TCAS, and also descending. In the darkness, 35,000 feet above Lake Constance, the two aircraft rushed toward each other at hundreds of miles per hour. There was no time for a second correction, no chance to reverse the fatal choice. At 11:35 p.m., the cargo plane's nose slammed into the fuselage of the Tupolev. Metal ripped open, fire erupted, and in less than a minute, both aircraft had broken apart, raining wreckage and lives across the quiet countryside. All 71 people aboard were killed, including 45 children. The world awoke the next morning to headlines that stunned and horrified. How could two modern aircraft, equipped with advanced warning systems, collide in Europe's well-regulated skies? The answer lay in the fragile link of human decision-making and the immense responsibility carried by those unseen voices guiding the skies. The investigation revealed the crushing reality. One controller left alone, communications hampered by maintenance, and a split-second decision that went against the machines. The disaster became a grim reminder that air traffic control, though often invisible to passengers, is one of the most critical and high-pressure jobs in the world. Air traffic controllers are the silent guardians of flight. Every time a plane takes off, every time a pilot requests clearance, it is the controller who ensures order in a sky that would otherwise be chaos. They monitor radar screens filled with moving blips, each representing hundreds of lives. They coordinate departures, ascents, and descents like choreographers of an immense three-dimensional ballet. And yet, unlike dancers, the consequences of a misstep are fatal. And indeed, it has. In 1977, on the island of Tenerife, poor communication between pilots and air traffic control led to the deadliest accident in aviation history. Two Boeing 747s collided on the runway in heavy fog, killing 583 people. Misunderstood instructions, stress, and a controller's inability to clarify created the perfect storm. In 1996, in the skies above Charki Dadri, near New Delhi, an air traffic controller's clearance and poor situational awareness allowed two aircraft to fly directly into one another, killing 349. Time and again, when investigators comb through the wreckage of accidents, they find the fingerprints of miscommunication, misunderstanding, or overload in the control tower. Yet for every tragedy that makes the headlines, there are thousands of unseen near misses that controllers prevent daily. Pilots often say that the cockpit is their sanctuary, but the real battlefield is in the control room. Here, men and women sit for hours, their eyes fixed on glowing screens, their voices calm even as their minds race. They must process dozens of moving targets, calculate their paths in real time, and issue instructions without hesitation. Their training is rigorous, their stress immense. Controllers are required to retire earlier than most professions because the job wears down even the strongest minds. Fatigue, distraction, or illness can be deadly when measured against the speed of a jet. The Überlingen disaster forced the industry to make changes. New international rules were established. When TCAS gives an instruction, it takes priority over a controller's voice. Training programs doubled down on conflict resolution and communication. Technology was refined to prevent such tragedies from repeating. But the disaster also revealed something more profound. Even with automation, even with advanced systems, the human link remains both the strongest and weakest element. Step into a modern air traffic control tower today, and it is like entering a nerve center of civilization. Panoramic glass gives a view of runways stretching into the distance. Controllers in headsets murmur rapid instructions, their tones calm but urgent. Radar displays sweep, showing arcs of traffic converging and diverging. Downstairs, in en route centers, controllers sit in darkened rooms, watching radar scopes that look like constellations. Each blip has a code, a height, a speed. To outsiders, it is chaos. To them, it is order. And the responsibility they carry is immense. When you board a flight and buckle your seatbelt, you may think of the pilots at the front of the cabin. But there is another crew, unseen, spread out across control towers and radar rooms around the globe, guiding your aircraft through invisible lanes, separating you from the hundreds of other planes sharing your airspace. They decide when you climb, when you descend, when you turn. They ensure that a jet streaking west at 600 miles an hour passes safely over another streaking east at the same speed. Their job is constant vigilance. Technology has advanced to support them. Satellite navigation, automated conflict alerts, and new systems like ADS-B allow for more precise tracking than ever before. The United States' next-gen system promises to replace radar with satellite-based navigation, allowing planes to fly more efficient routes. Artificial intelligence is beginning to play a role, predicting conflicts before they occur. But still, every decision must be confirmed, authorized, and communicated by a human voice. Because machines cannot comfort a nervous pilot. Machines cannot improvise when weather turns suddenly violent or when an emergency forces a plane to land immediately. In those moments, it is the calm, steady voice of a controller that guides pilots home. Even with AI, controllers are not being replaced. Instead, the future is one of partnership, machines assisting, humans deciding. But the pressure remains. In some countries, staffing shortages leave controllers overworked. In others, outdated technology forces them to rely on judgment alone. And always the stakes are life and death. The Überlingen collision was one tragedy, the Tenerife disaster another. Together they remind us that while the aviation industry is safer than ever, it is not invulnerable. Behind every flight path cleared, every runway granted, there are humans whose vigilance prevents catastrophe. Late at night, when passengers sleep in dim cabins and pilots monitor their instruments, there are still voices awake in dark towers and radar rooms, watching over them. Most travelers will never see these guardians, never hear their names, never know the stress they endure. But every safe landing is proof of their work. The story of air traffic control is not one of machines alone, nor of humans alone, but of the fragile balance between both. A balance tested in 2002 over Lake Constance, when trust in the human voice of erode the warning of a machine, and 71 lives were lost. A balance tested in Tenerife, in India, and in countless near misses quietly resolved. A balance that continues every day, every hour, every second, as millions of passengers cross the skies. The next time you look out of your window at 35,000 feet and see another jet gliding silently in the distance, know that its position is not an accident. Know that someone, somewhere, is watching both of you, ensuring that your paths never cross. Know that beyond the pilots you trust, there are others, unseen, unheard, but always there. They are the guardians of the sky, the ones who carry the weight of countless lives with nothing but their judgment, their training, and their voice. And in the vast, crowded heavens above, their vigilance is what makes the miracle of modern flight possible.